What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Nerdwide podcast. This is episode 161. I'm your host, Tyler Haynes, with my good friend and nerdy co-host, Chris Rivers.
What's happening?
Oh, living life to the fullest. How about you?
Yeah. Uh, eh,
Yeah,
eh.
it's raining a
Um,
lot, you know.
yeah, it has rained a lot, and which we didn't get it as bad as other parts have,
Mm-mm.
not nearly. So,
Oh,
but it's also cooling off. We're
yes.
leaving summer behind.
Listen, I am still waiting to put the projector up out back. Have not had a chance to do it yet.
Mm.
I mean, either it's been too hot or it's been raining. There's no in between. So all of my wanting to do all of this, our Halloween horror-thon in the backyard, has gone to nil. Just nothing. So,
Yeah.
but this has been a
Well,
good
hey,
week to do it. Like this
we
movies.
might. Yeah, yeah. These movies would have been fun to watch that way. Maybe we do it at the Halloween party.
See, I've already got that racking around, like putting on like several movies going like in rotation or something, and just for something else to do if people want to or whatever else. Because
I mean, I'll just tell you, I'll probably be out there the whole time.
I'm the same way.
Uh,
Especially put Halloween on there, or put Friday the 13th Part 2 or something. Things I want to watch. But,
yeah.
quick housekeeping before we get into all of the fun. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube or podcasting service of your choice. If you enjoy the show, make sure you leave us a thumbs up on YouTube or give us a good rating on whatever podcasting service you do use. If you don't enjoy the show, if there's something wrong, broken, or just incorrect, just please leave it a comment down below. That's the best way we can fix it. Don't know, we can't fix it if we don't know if it's broke. That's the best way to do that. Chris, you been doing anything other? Well, have you been watching any TV this week?
No.
We've been watching Modern Family, and that's about it. And football. A lot
Yeah.
of football lately. I don't know why, but just a lot of football. So, which is
Well,
not a
I
bad
mean.
thing, could be
No,
worse.
no, not at all. Well, it depends on who you're watching,
That's a
and
valid point. Tomorrow,
what.
I don't know if I'm going to watch that or not. It depends if I put money on the game.
I'll be at work, so
You won't be missing anything. It's Titans and Dolphins, a toilet bowl at this point.
well, there's still a chance.
Oh, that's true. But listen, we've got some fun things to talk about.
Yes.
We've got Agatha All Along, episode 3.
Uh huh.
Penguin, episode 1.
Mm-hmm.
Candyman, the original.
Yeah,
And
but
The
you got to be
Fall, the
careful.
original.
Be careful how many times you say Candyman.
Listen, I've only said it once.
I've said it once.
So, man, we're good. I don't have a mirror in here either. So, and you don't even
Yeah.
need a mirror, though. Let's be honest, you don't need one.
No, well, not once he's been summoned. I don't
Right.
know if you need one to.
God, what a Tony Todd. What an actor. We'll get into that, though. But
Hey,
first, yes.
that's something you should do at the Halloween party. You should have a dare set up. Anyone that wants to can go into your bathroom and look in the mirror.
That's genius. I'm not writing a note. I gotta write that down. Quick, honey, write that down. Hey Siri, set a reminder for 7 o'clock about the Dare Mirror Room for the Halloween party. Okay. Thank you very much. I am going to, because that'd be real easy to do too.
You said 7 o'clock.
Yeah, for 20 minutes from now. So it'll pop up by the time we record and all that stuff. Because I could even put like a smoke machine in there and just have it sputter just a little bit. Nothing to set off the smoke alarms, and put a light. I like where your head's at, Chris. But let's talk about where Agatha's head is at in Agatha All Along, episode 3. We're going to Deadline.com by Katie Campion once more.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to... All right. Things pick up right where they left off of episode 2 as the Coven departs down the Witch's Road with no idea what lies ahead. All of the witches are stunned to discover that the road is even real, except for Sharon, played by the wonderful Deborah Jo Rupp, who is convinced that everyone has kidnapped her. The Coven saying Agatha is concerned that Sharon is with them at all, since she possesses an obvious liability with no obvious magical abilities. That's when Agatha informs them that the road is actually a test, and they're going to be put through a series of trials in order to make it to the end. The kicker is that none of them have any access to the powers, which means they'll need to rely on analog magic to succeed. Witchcraft, emphasis on the craft, Joe Locke's teen explains. Who is this kid anyways? The rest of the coven would also like to know. Too bad he can't tell them because of the pesky sigil, and it's the first time anyone has actually pointed it out to him, and Agatha denies knowing anything about it. See, she knows a lot more than she lets on to everybody else here. And it shows up later in the show, but her faces when she's talking about things like, you're hiding things, which is par for the course when it comes to one of these shows. It's really good, and I'm very excited to see where we go from here. Now they've got a new mystery in their hands, as Teen himself points out. Why would anyone want to hide him?
Yeah.
There's no time for that now, though, because they've got to focus on making it down the road. But wait, they've lost Sharon. She's wandered off looking for a way out. Instead, she finds herself in a bout of quicksand, quickly getting sucked beneath the earth with her purse. Luckily, the witches are able to save her, but her purse becomes a sacrifice of the road. Now seems like a good time as ever for Agatha to let everyone know they must not stray from the road. If only she'd said something before Sharon nearly got eaten. Anyway, just as they're contemplating their next move, Jen spots a house in the distance they set off to investigate, and once inside, they find themselves transformed. No longer dirty from trekking the road, their clothes have changed, so now they give off a preppy, coastal, chic vibes as they explore the house looking for clues on what's next. They all looked wonderful. Like costume design, this episode, very well done. And when they transformed at the end of it, I was like, I kind of like the other ones better, but you know. Teen finds an envelope sitting on the fireplace mantle, inviting them to the first trial. The card inside contains the riddle. My age has value. I'm no fun alone. I mess with your mind. My tricks are well known. Wine. Oh, look, there's a bottle and 5 glasses waiting for them on the table. Teen goes off in search of a corkscrew, and Jen falls to warn him to watch his back with Agatha, telling him she traded her own child for the Book of the Damned, and no one knows what happened to that kid. He could be dead, or it's possible that her son has also become, we finally got it, an agent of Mephisto. First mentioned in the MCU, and we've all been scratching at it for a while now. So, could that mean anything? I don't know. She says, whatever the true story, she probably wouldn't even recognize him if he showed up on her doorstep. Teen seems shaken by this remark. Could this be a clue to his identity? The witches pour the wine, and when they do, a 30-minute timer mysteriously begins as Sharon chugs her glass down. The rest of them clink their glasses and start sipping, well, except for Agatha, who sneakily pours hers into the plant. She's got the right idea because within minutes, Sharon's face is puffy and red as she's having an allergic reaction. In fact, it's not just Sharon, all the women slowly begin to experience the same reaction. The swelling goes down very quickly, but this causes even more panic, as Jen says only one type of poison can lead this reaction. Alewife's revenge. Hi, Fury. And this is just the beginning. They're about to begin experiencing delirium, loss of motor function, racing heart, hallucinations, and eventually, death. Of course. Come on. Are you coming inside of that? Come on. There you go, boy. All right. Teen is safe since he is not allowed to drink yet, and despite Agatha's attempts to avoid the same fate, it looks like that's out of the question. Not only do the other witches catch on to the fact that Agatha never drank her glass, it also has already filled up again on its own. She tries to smash her glass, hoping to avoid the same fate as the other witches, but then the other glass begins to fill. She's going to have to drink the wine to make it through this trial. Before long, Sharon experiences a scary hallucination, screaming for Wanda to spare someone's life before she faints. The witches decide it's time to brew an antidote before the clock runs out. As the potions witch, Jen leads the charge, helping the others find household products that will suffice in place of the usual magical elements she'd usually have on hand. As they're looking, the others all begin to experience their own hallucinations, which both terrifies them and eats into the time left for them to save everyone's lives. And just when they think they've got enough on their hands, the window in the living room of the house begins to crack. Suddenly, they're all underwater, and before long, the glass is going to shatter, and they're all going to drown. They need to move quickly because the women are starting to lose their motor functions. Just then, Agatha hears a baby crying, and she sees an infant in a bassinet. She uncovers the bassinet to find the dark hold sitting inside. She's horrified by this image, but is quickly snapped out of it as the women need her help to complete the potion. They start mixing the potion in the sink when Jen realizes they're missing something. There's only a minute left on the timer, and Jen is panicking. Agatha calms her down for a moment, and she remembers that they need the blood of the unpoisoned to complete it. That would be the teen. With its blood in the sink, they're able to finish the potion and save themselves. Now, Chris, side note. The color of the potion is a clue. Just letting you know.
Blue?
Mm-hmm. Just a clue. Just remember that going forward. Just keep it in the back of your mind. We're going to use that mouse tool for later.
Okay.
They almost forget Sharon, who is still passed out on the couch, but as the second ticks away, they try to pour some of the potion down her throat to save her. Just as the timer runs out, the windows of the house shatter and the oven door clangs open. That appears to be their only way out. Dragging an unconscious Sharon with them, they crawl to the oven, shutting the door behind them just in time. Just like that, they find themselves back on the Witch's Road. They've survived the first trial, but not all of them. Sharon is dead. Dun, dun, dun. Great episode. I loved it. It had a little horror vibes with everyone hallucinating, and that was, a lot of them were creepy. Agatha's was... that's what I expected hers to be. And when I saw the bassinet, I said, oh, there's not going to be a baby. It's going to be the book. And sure enough, it was a little predictable for me. But other than that, it was a great episode, rather. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really good. It keeps things moving along at a nice clip. What have we got? How many episodes do we have left?
Let me count.
Is this a 10 episode?
Yes. So we'll get 4, 5, 6, 7. No, it's a 9 episode because we get 2 the night before Halloween.
Okay.
So 9 episodes. Which I don't know how many trials there are, but that's a lot of episodes to. I feel like we've come a long way already.
Yeah.
And there's not much further to go for 9 episodes.
They may have 2 or 3 full episodes just dealing with the fallout.
Yeah.
From Witch's Road.
Could have like a flashback maybe too. You know how they have fillers. Unfortunately, I don't think they should in these short amount of show, like these short series.
Right.
What do I know? I'm just a man behind the desk.
But yeah, good episode.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Something else I also enjoyed, which this show, The Penguin, brings a lot of like mafia movie, TV show, like Mad Men, kind of that very drama-esque, but set in the superhero world. I didn't think I was going to like it, but I really enjoyed this episode.
Mm-hmm.
And good Lord, Colin Farrell, wonderful. Good. He's going to win things, and as he should, because golly, he acts his ass off this whole episode. Which I'm sure it's going to be the whole show, too. So we're going to the Collider.com, and this is by Nate Richard. So, a little recap of the Batman, if you haven't watched it. I don't know why you've been watching The Penguin if you hadn't. In the third act of the Batman, the Riddler, Edward Norton, assassinates crime lord Carmine Falcone as he's being arrested. Riddler's plan to stir up chaos in Gotham succeeds. The lower streets of the city are flooded, but Batman aids Gotham's first responders, trying to inspire hope among the city's devastated citizens. The last we see of Colin Farrell's Penguin is he's overlooking the streets from the office at the Iceberg Lounge, and it's clear that he's plotting to attempt to seize control of Gotham's criminal underground. So a quick little recap. I thought they did a great job of doing it through newscast for this, to catch us back up. So I enjoyed the way they did that. Fear, you're gonna think of one, buddy.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. You did say Edward Norton.
Did I?
Yeah, instead of Edward.
You know.
I was like, wait a minute.
I was like, the Hulk was in this? Paul Dano. Episode 1 begins at the exact moment where we last saw Oz, overlooking the flooded streets. Gotham City 1 recaps this news, reporting that Batman is helping in recovery efforts along with footage of the city's mayor-elect, Bella Real, promising that she will rebuild Gotham. More news informs us that there's been a drastic increase in crime in the wake of the flooding, with drugs being peddled by gangs. We also learned that Carmine Falcone, is it Falcone or is it Falcones? It depends what series we...
Yeah, I think they say in this one, they say Falcone.
Okay. We also learned that Carmine Falcone's assassination has only made things worse as the GCPD has found it much more difficult to restore order in the city. However, the most important news, to Oz at least, is word that Carmine's son, Alberto Falcone, will be taking his father's place as the head of Gotham's most notorious family. Oz pulls up to the ruined remains of the Iceberg Lounge, fetching a sledgehammer from his truck before waddling inside. He uses the hammer to break open the office safe and collects photos of Johnny Vitti, the underboss of the Falcone crime family, sleeping with an unknown woman. Just as Oz is perusing some jewelry from the safe, Alberto walks in pointing his gun. Oz plays coy, claiming that he was going to bring the jewels directly to him per Carmine's wishes. Phenomenal scene. This scene and the dinner scene, just absolutely amazing. Oz continues to fib his way out of the situation, trying to congratulate Al on his new position, and while the mobster's son doesn't believe him, he finally settles down after Oz offers him a drink. Oz tries to pry into Al's plans for drug running, encouraging him to take advantage of the booming drop business in Gotham. Al reveals that he wants to start moving a stronger, newer drug, which creates a new kind of high, but orders Oz not to tell anyone, especially Johnny. He adds that both he and his father knew that Oz was laundering money away from the family, but that he was smart about it, making it good for business. Oz begins to become increasingly agitated, especially when Al begins flaunting his father's ring, which originally belonged to the rival mob boss Salvatore Maroni. When Al asks whether he'll be good as his father, Oz tells him the story of a gangster who roamed his neighborhood as a child, Rex Calabrese. Oz claims that Rex helped those in his neighborhood knowing everybody's names and protecting them. Rex died when Oz was 14, and the neighborhood threw a parade in his honor. Al sees right through Oz's monologue, believing that Oz is trying to pry away his power in order to be given respect and to be remembered. Al continues to ridicule Oz, with his final words being, "What a little bitch," before Oz whips out his own pistol and shoots Al dead several times. And yes, and this is where the Penguin, I feel like, is a great villain, because he's emotional, but he's also very calculating, and it's just very cool to see. I guess we're kind of seeing the middle of his journey, per se, not so much the beginning and not at the end of it, but like right here in the middle. Oz laughs before realizing what he's done, and the show smash cuts to the title card for the series. The next time we see him, he's stowing Al's corpse into a body bag and stealing the mobster's phone. This proves to be a defining moment for Oz, and Farrell excels at showing the character's erratic and unpredictable nature. Oz desperately craves power no matter what, but his thin skin is constantly getting in his way. He's no badass, he's a coward. And as Oz waddles to his car, he finds a gang of teenagers attempting to steal the hubcaps. While all the other boys run away, Oz catches up to one of them, Victor Aguilar, and holds him at gunpoint. Vic breaks down and cries, causing Oz to put the gun down and take his wallet instead, forcing the young man to help him dispose of Al's body.
Well, he kind of has sympathy for him because he has a stutter, and so he has this handicap, as they kind of refer to it, and so Oz has one as well. So he kind of he identifies with him in a little bit, you know.
Well, it's one of the things I really enjoy about this show, because he's essentially taking this kid under his wing as we go through the episode, and he's telling him about things, but also he's putting fear into this kid's eyes and life, and it's very cool to see. I honestly did not know what kind of show we were going to get when I pressed play for this episode, but I am really, really, really into it and want to be in this world more. And it made me want to go back and rewatch Batman. I still want to go back and rewatch Batman if I can, just because I love this world that they're building.
Do you think? Because I haven't looked at any of the stuff for the show, so I don't know if stuff's been announced about who's playing certain characters or whatever. But do you think we get Scarecrow? Do you think that's the drug?
See, that would be really cool, because he's been working with this chemist and becomes. See, that'd be awesome. I haven't looked into anything yet either, and it's almost like I want to be surprised by it too. So I just, you know what it really makes me do, Chris? It makes me really miss the hit show Gotham. And, it's got that same gritty, although this is a little bit more mature, but it's got that same gritty, just bottom of the city feel to it. And it's just so good.
It's funny you said that, because when this stopped playing and it went to recommended for up next.
Mm.
It was Gotham.
Oh man, what a time that was in our lives. I love that show.
That was a great show.
Let's see. Oz orders Victor to work with him as his driver for the night, telling him that he'll murder him and his family if he breaks his trust. Oz destroys Al's phone as Victor drives him around Gotham, though not before making note of a date and time Al had recorded about the impending shipment of new drugs. Victor drives Oz over to an apartment belonging to Eve Carlo, where Oz asks a sex worker if she could give him an alibi for the entire night. Later, Oz attempts to bond with Victor while burning the evidence of the murder in a scrapyard, and in the morning the two hide Al's body in a random car, but not before stealing Maroni's ring off of Al's finger. Oz tells Victor that Al is a member of the Falcone crime family and that he knows that information. Oz will have to shoot him. Victor stutters and pleads his way through talking Oz out of shooting him, claiming that he does not have a real ambition. Claiming that he does have real ambition, offering to keep him working with him.
He wasn't going to shoot him, though. He was going to crack him in the back of the head with it.
It was, but that's what I would have thought. You've got this dude that's already killed somebody, and he tells me to turn around and look at the sunset. I would be like, oh God, I'm about to die. And I mean, that would have been the same reaction.
He was definitely going to kill him, but he was going to use the crowbar.
Yeah. So
that he had in his hand. Yeah, that was something.
It's exactly what anyone would have done, honestly.
And I thought it was funny too that when he asked and I can't remember her name, the prostitute
Eve,
that he goes to Eve, he asked her, can I get an alibi? And she's like, anytime after 10 p.m.
Yeah.
Because she had someone with her before that.
Mm-hmm. Smart. That's story building. That's just a good script. Oz refrains from killing Vic, but he says he's going to hold Victor to his word. Oz takes Victor to his apartment in Gotham's Diamond District, where we learn that his waddle is a result of his deformed foot, and then hides Maroni's ring for safekeeping. Later, at one of the Drop's warehouses, Oz gives some incriminating photographs to one of his runners, ordering him to leave the evidence with a councilman who's close to Bella Real, and to make sure they know that information came from Oswald Cobblepot.
How about that set of toes, though, on that foot? Now they're...
I've seen worse. It didn't do anything to me. I've taken care of worse and seen a lot worse. But I'm glad that they did that, because I did have a question. Okay, so why is he limping? We have never gotten that in this storyline of why he's limping and why he just gave it the brace, and now we do. So, got gross foot. He's also updated on the fact that the drops that were recovered in the wake of the flooding in Gotham seem to have been contaminated by the polluted water, but doesn't seem phased, insisting that the so-called drop heads will use them no matter what. Oz is ordered to report to the Falcone family, where he meets with Vitti and Falcone's enforcer, Milos Grappa. Listen, Vitti, that guy's in everything. Like, I mean, come on. Grappa tells Oz that the family is going to shut down the Drop's warehouse in Gotham and move more operations to Robbinsville. Oz is frustrated, insisting that there's much less money involved with a relocation like that, but Vitti reminds Oz that he still works for the family, adding that too much of the project was damaged during the flood and that the GCPD is now hot on their trail. Disgusted, Oz argues that the Maroni family will use this to their benefit, but is countered by Vitti, who tells him that the last thing that they need is another gang war. As Oz convinces the men to continue the operation by claiming he's received a new shipment, that he will allow the family to expand their product outside the Drops, Falcone's daughter, Sophia, walks into the room. It's revealed that she has recently been released from Arkham Asylum, but Oz doesn't seem too convinced for her rehabilitation. Against Vitti and Grappa's wishes, Sophia questions Oz about whether he's heard from Alberto, since her brother never came home after leaving the night before. As Oz leaves the room, Vitti orders him to shut down his operation in Gotham, and by the time he reaches his car, Sophia confronts him about Alberto. Oz fibs, claiming that now that Al's the head of the family, he's probably a busy man. Sophia doesn't buy that answer and orders him to have lunch with her. And at the restaurant, Oz watches and discovers as Sophia eats ravenously by passing a fork and knife to shovel food into her mouth with her hands. This is also that when we learn about Sophia's past as a killer dubbed the Hangman. That's such an awesome, serial killer villain name. And it's clear that the other diners seem uncomfortable with her there. She then questions Oz, telling him that Alberto had told her about his intention to visit the Iceberg Lounge the night before, and adds that her brother had already informed her of his plans to revolutionize the drug business, the same thing she overheard Oz telling Vidya Agrappa. Sorry. Sophia confronts Oz. Listen, if you're new around here, if I talk a long time and talk a lot fast and word really fast, I start yawning for no good reason at all. Sophia confronts Oz, asking him how knew about Al's plan and why he would pitch it to the family as his own. Oz once again lies his way out of the situation, telling Sophia that Alberto never told him about her release, and claiming that he's been in on the new drug plot all along. He also posits that Al might be on another drug bender, so he has decided to take matters into his own hands, while name dropping his fake alibi with Eve. As the two go their separate ways, Sophia tells Oz that while the others don't believe in him, she's always seen his potential, believing he is capable of more. Miliotti's grand entrance to Sophia Falcone is nothing short of sensational. We all expected Farrell to be great in his return as his character, but Miliotti is just as effective. The character is even more terrifying than Oz. I completely agree.
Yeah, but when she tells him she knows he's capable of more, it's the way she says it. She whispers it in his ear as if to say, I know you're involved in my brother's disappearance.
She's not wrong.
No.
Let's see. Knowing that Sophia is hot on his trail, Oz and Victor travel across the bridge from Gotham, hopping into a less fancy car that immediately starts playing Dolly Parton's 925. Victor tries not to laugh as an embarrassed Oz removes a disc from his car's CD player. Oz takes Victor to his mother's house, Frances Cobb, but swears his protege to secrecy about this hidden part of his life. Oz gives Frances one of his pieces of jewelry he stole from Falcone's safe and informs his mother that he's taking her with him on a vacation. Oz observes that his mother hasn't been taking her medication. She claims that the boys messed with it. Frances is also startled to see Victor, but Oz calms her, claiming that he's coming along on their trip to help her, as sort of a nurse. It was very funny. He's got nurse-like, tendencies. God. Francis sees through this facade, however, and he confesses that he shot and killed Alberto Falcone, and that she is in grave danger, especially now that Sophia suspects something. While Oz tries to explain to his mother that shooting Al was an impulsive decision, Francis informs her that he only killed a man because he wanted the power, just like his father, adding, quote, the city is meant to be yours. The next day, Oz travels to Blackgate Penitentiary to meet with Salvatore Maroni. Oz tells Maroni that he's done doing business with the Falcones and is willing to help to work with him, including him in on the plans to move the drug operations to another part of Gotham, which would give the Maroni family the chance to take over with his help. Maroni initially refuses Oz's offer, reminding him of all the times he stabbed him in the back. But Oz delivers Maroni's ring back to him with some parting words. Quote, maybe I'm more than what you think. Oz drives back to his apartment to see Sophia and her guards waiting at the front door and speeds off, trying to lose them at a street fair. One of Sophia's men catches up to him, but Oz stabs him, causing him to stumble back in shock and get hit by a school bus. This scene was phenomenal. The cinematography was great. Like the rain, like the fogginess of it and everything.
Stabbed him in the eye with an air freshener.
It was so good. I was like, oh no, he's dead. And then he backs up and just gets destroyed by this bus. Oh man. And then everybody on the bus looking down like what's going on was so funny. I said her waving a gun around. When distracted, Oz is knocked out by one of Sophia's other enforcers. When Oz wakes up, he's been stripped naked and tied to a chair in the Falcone's greenhouse. While Sophia interrogates him, she reveals that she has kidnapped one of the teens who was with Victor trying to steal his plum-colored car and is willing to talk about what he saw that night. But Oz tells Sophia that her so-called informant is lying, so she shoots the kid dead. Like, if this doesn't show how deranged this woman is, she goes, oh, he's lying? Bow! And that was it. I was like, jeez.
Yeah. But she doesn't, knowing that Oz is lying about the kid lying. Right. She kills him anyway.
Oh, it's so good. Let's see. As Sophia orders her enforcer to torture Oz, asking him whether he believes that her suspicions are crazy, the interrogation is interrupted by a car crashing into the fountain on the front lawn. Sophia discovers Alberto's corpse in the trunk with his pinky finger cut off and the word payback keyed on the inside lid. The episode ends with Oz meeting up with Victor, where it's revealed that they both orchestrated this car crash. Oz congratulates Victor on going through with the plan, but laments that the young man didn't go through with decapitating Victor's corpse and leaving only his head and pinky finger in the truck. Vic tries to apologize, but Oz brushes the whole thing off as they've ultimately succeeded in framing the Maronis for Alberto's death.
Yep.
Oh, so good. But I had the slushy face. He said, hey, what I tell you, kids, better when you mix it together. He goes, yeah, it's pretty good. It's just very, I love it. It's got a lot of like Sopranos, Mad Men, mixed with a little bit of Breaking Bad sort of feel to it for me. It's just so good. And it's like, I wanted another episode for us to watch and review, but we only had the one, and the other episode comes out tonight.
That episode seemed, I didn't really check the runtime. It seemed like it ran pretty long, almost feature length.
That's how I feel. How long was it? How long is the first episode?
Because Agatha was what, about 45 minutes?
Yeah, they're running around at that 38-minute, 43-minute kind of time. Oh, this one was 67 minutes is why the Penguin was.
Yeah, felt like it. I mean, it was good, but I was just like, man, I've been watching this a while. I was starting to think it rolled over into a second episode, and I was like, no.
But it was, I enjoyed it. The parts that seemed slow were more world building to Oz and where we were, but they weren't. We're talking about the movies here in a minute. They weren't slow in that way to me. They were slow where I guess Walking Dead and Breaking Bad had those moments where they're building this world up because you have to know this information going forward, kind of way. Right. So I really enjoyed it, and I seriously can't wait for the next episode tonight. I might even watch it here in a minute. So
yeah. So
Chris, it's time.
We got Hero and Douche Canoe.
We do. It's finally time to bring this section back. If you're new here or just here for this episode, we do a Hero and Douche Canoe over our shows. Hero of the Week out of the 2 episodes, and the Douche of the Week out of those 2 episodes as well. Let's start at the top with Hero. Now, I would like to say the Potion Witch, which of course is...
Yeah.
Once I get Jen.
Yeah.
I think is a clear choice for this one.
Yeah.
Albeit, I would also like to say the Douche Canoe could also be Agatha for this episode.
Yeah, but I think we'll say that about her a lot.
Yeah, that's her character, though, so I don't know if it's really douchey at that point. Hero for the Penguin. I want to say Vic. I mean, he had a chance to run.
He did, but what? I don't know. What makes him a hero?
Came back and saved his life inadvertently. I mean, it was the plan all along, but inadvertently, if you will.
Yeah.
Now, Douche Canoe, there's a lot. You say Sophia, because she just straight up shot that teenager straight in the head.
Yeah.
You also say Oswald, but again, it's his character. So I don't really know which one you want to go with here.
Well, I think shooting a teenager right in the head is kind of when you know that they're telling the truth,
right? So it was You want to do Sophia for Douche Canoe?
Yeah,
let's do it. Sophia Falcone, her first one of the season, and Hero. Who would you like to do, Jen?
Yeah, let's do Jen.
Let's do Jen, because it's potentially her last time to be alive.
Potentially.
Because I think they're going to kill off a witch every episode.
I think we're going to have to start putting out next to their names on the file here. We're going to have to put what show they were on.
Agatha. There you go. Sophia Falcone. Falcone. I've got that one. Some of these other ones, I'll have to go through and put the show out there beside them.
I'm like, I don't even remember who these people are in some cases.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you got questions, just like Marie from whatchamacallit, Gen V.
Yeah.
General Docs. Now that one you've got me on. Rufus,
Oh,
Kate are all from Gen V. Allison. I don't know that one. I'll get there.
Alice.
We'll review it
Yeah.
later. So. Okay.
Oh, Allison was that as far back as Goosebumps? Was that a character on Goosebumps?
Yes, it was.
Oh, okay.
Good call.
Yeah.
Because that's
Well,
yeah. Deathbird. Who's Deathbird? All right.
anyway, on to the movies. Did you watch anything else this week?
Nothing. Wanted to again, just have not sat down and had the time to do it. It's the kids'
Yeah.
birthdays are a week apart, and Zoe's was this past week. Stella's is Tuesday, so we're just running.
Trying to get through it.
Yeah, but because there's a lot of movies I've got like on the back burner I want to watch. Like I really want to watch Batman again, sometime before the Penguin ends. I would really like to watch The Proposal because it's just been stuck in my head. And there's some other horror movies I want to watch too.
Yeah. Yeah. The goal in October for me is to watch more movies during the week.
Yeah.
Um,
There's like I want to watch some of the sequels to like Nightmare on Elm Street and not Jason.
Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th. I don't know why I have a hard time remembering that name of it. I remember the characters, can't remember anything else.
So this week we set out to watch and review Candyman and The Fog from 1980, not the remake.
Both of these are the originals.
Yeah, both are the originals. Candyman was 92. The Fog was 1980, as I said. Next week, and we'll mention this again before we go tonight. Next week, Terrifier and 28 Days Later.
I'm really excited. I'm excited for 28 Days Later because I've heard a lot about it, and it's got Cillian Murphy in it. Terrifier, we'll see.
Have you heard much about it?
No. All I know is there's a black and white clown. It's about the only thing I know about it. Jamie's really terrified of this one. And to reference, she didn't watch any of these movies with me this week. Again, because they're just so busy. I do want her to catch up on them, though.
Yeah, we need her scores.
Yeah. Because I don't think she's seen The Fog. And I'm sure she's seen Candyman, too. But it's just been a busy week. Actually, no, I'll text and ask her. So.
Well, let's see. Which one do we want to start with?
Let's do Candyman.
We gotta quit saying his name.
Oh. That's the third time for me. So I can't say it anymore. I'll just say Tony Todd.
All right, let's see. So this came out in 1992. It's based on The Forbidden, a story by Clive Barker. Let me see. It runs 101 minutes, which is a good length for a movie. If you're listening, Hollywood, it's a good length for a movie.
Oh, this was the one I texted you a couple times. I almost texted you about The Fog last night. No, it was The Fog I was texting you about last night. Never mind. Ignore me.
Yes. I usually do.
Yeah. most probably.
The budget on this was 8 to 9 million, and it had a box office of 25.8.
Where did the money go?
8 to 9, not 89.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I'm with you now.
You're like, where did the money go? What? So it made it just about kind of tripled its money there.
Yeah.
All right, we'll get to the plot here. Helen Lyle, who's played by Virginia Madsen, does a very good job in this movie too, is a semiotics graduate student at the University of Illinois, Chicago. While researching urban legends, she familiarizes herself with Candyman, a spirit who kills anyone that speaks his name 5 times before a mirror. She learns of a recent murder at a Cabrini Green Homes public housing project and several others that have been attributed by locals to Candyman. Skeptical, Helen and her friend Bernadette Walsh repeat Candyman's name to Helen's bathroom mirror to no avail. It is to avail, but they don't know that yet.
Correct.
Helen and Bernadette work together on a thesis on how Cabrini Green residents use the Candyman legend to cope with racial inequality. She and Bernadette visit the scene of the most recent murder. There, Helen discovers a room where sweets have been left for Candyman. Afterwards, they interview the victim's neighbor, Anne Marie McCoy, a single mother raising her infant son, Anthony. Helen and her husband Trevor, alongside Bernadette, later have dinner with Archie Walsh, an expert on the Candyman myth.
What a jerk, by the way. God,
Yeah,
I could not stand that guy.
If we did douche canoes for films,
He
there
would
you
get
go.
it. I mean, easy.
He discloses Candyman was Daniel Robitaille, an African-American man born in the late 1800s as the son of a slave who grew up to become a renowned painter. After he fell in love with and impregnated a white woman, her father sent a lynch mob after him. The mob sawed off his right hand and smeared him with honeycomb stolen from an apiary, attracting bees that stung him to death. His corpse was burned in a pyre erected on the site where the Cabrini Green homes were eventually built. When Helen returns to Cabrini Green, a young boy named Jake tells her of an incident where a developmentally disabled boy was castrated by Candyman in a public bathroom. Helen investigates the site, where a man claiming himself as Candyman batters her with a hook. She identifies her attacker to the police, who recognize him as the head of a local gang, and he's therefore charged for the murders attributed to Candyman. A few days later, however, the real Candyman appears to Helen in a parking garage, hypnotizing her. He explains due to her discredit of his legend, he must shed innocent blood to perpetuate it. Helen blacks out and awakens in Anne-Marie's apartment covered in blood, finding Anne-Marie's pet Rottweiler, Annie, decapitated and her son Anthony missing. Anne-Marie proceeds to attack Helen, who stabs Anne-Marie during their struggle. The police arrive and arrest Helen.
Now, I want to say this is a genius idea. If I was ever some sort of ghost, spirit, murdering entity, I would play it exactly like this. Make the person seem crazy, but still, I guess serial killer too would work, but make the person the scapegoat for all of this. Mm-hmm. It's not CM doing it, it's Helen doing it. And we get a very cool payoff at the end. By the way, you're up to 12 counts, so I mean, in my keeping count for video watchers on the screen, I am.
Okay. At this point, if there's anything to it, I'm done. Right?
Listen, so. I think for the Halloween party, I'm gonna put a picture of Tony Todd with a hook in his hand, up like beside the mirror or something like that, and say, "Can't see him?" Question mark. Just.
After Trevor bails her out of jail, Helen spots Candyman in a photograph she took at Cabrini Green. He breaks into Helen's apartment and cuts her neck, causing her to bleed and pass out. Bernadette arrives at Helen's apartment, and when Helen comes to, she realizes Candyman has murdered Bernadette. Framed for the crime, Helen is committed to a psychiatric hospital. While being interviewed in preparation for her trial a month later, Helen attempts to prove her innocence by summoning Candyman, who appears and murders her psychiatrist. Candyman then frees Helen from her restraints.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I was not expecting it, because he's like, oh, you've been here a month, we've been adjusting your meds, and plays the thing of her talking to CM above her bed. And I was like, this is really, really well done. And then, yeah, I really enjoyed that.
Well, and she's surprised that it's been a month. She feels like it's probably been, like a week at most?
Or a night or something. She goes to sleep after getting injected and wakes up. But
Ellen returns to her apartment to find Trevor now living with one of his students, Stacy.
Come on, man. This dude is a character. All right.
I love how as soon as Stacy sees Helen, she just starts breaking down and like trembling in fear and
Hmm.
all this. It's like, well, I
She's a
mean,
known murderer and kidnapped a
you're
kid. Nobody knows where that's at.
you're kind of in the wrong here, Stacy. So
Yes, I mean,
I, whatever happens to you at this point,
yep,
eh.
it's on you.
Helen confronts him, then flees to Cabrini Green to rescue Anthony. When she finds Candyman in his lair, he informs Helen her surrender to him will ensure Anthony's safety. Offering Helen immortality, Candyman opens his coat, revealing a rib cage wreathed in bees.
Awesome.
The bees, yeah, the bees pour out of his mouth and stream down her throat as he kisses her. He vanishes with Anthony, and Helen awakes to discover a mural of the Candyman and his lover, who bears a striking resemblance to her.
It was always you, Helen.
Yeah.
So cool.
Candyman promises to release Anthony if Helen helps him strike fear into Cabrini Green's residence. Attempting to feed his legend, the Candyman reneges and attempts to immolate both Helen and Anthony in a pyre. Helen stabs Candyman with a flaming plank. The flames destroy Candyman, and Helen dies while rescuing Anthony. The residents, led by Anne Marie and Jake, pay their respects at Helen's funeral. At home, the grief-stricken and guilt-ridden Trevor looks into the mirror and utters Helen's name 5 times.
Inadvertently, and they did a very good job with this too. He's just breaking down and realizes, what's going on, and then inadvertently says her name 5 times. I was counting.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, well, I know what they're doing here.
Yeah, I mean, he even has that flashback because Stacy is in the kitchen and she's wanting to make dinner, and he remembers back to the beginning of the film when Helen made dinner and she rushed to greet him at the door and all
Mm-hmm.
that. He kind of realizes what he's missing now. Um, let's see. At home, the grief-stricken and guilt-ridden Trevor looks into the mirror and utters Helen's name 5 times, whereupon Helen's vengeful spirit appears and kills him, leaving a hysterical Stacy to uncover his body in the bathtub. A new mural of Helen dressed in white with her hair ablaze appears in Candyman's lair.
So damn cool. Like, and I've said this a couple of weeks, but I love horror movies with a story and a well fleshed out story. And this one was perfect. I gave
Yeah,
this film a 4 out of 5. I would have gone a little higher, but the beginning of the movie drug on just a little bit for me. But like once we hit when they went to the was it Kala Plaza Green or whatever it was
yeah,
called, it started running and it did not stop, and it was very very cool. And I really do like the theme of we have the background of who CM is, how he became to be, and how the buildings were the same and they had the same layout kind of stuff. It was very cool, and I really enjoyed the way they did that. The effects at the end were great. Anne Marie coming back to pay respects to Helen at the end was so cool, and the whole community, because she essentially killed CM that's been torturing these people, and it's just very cool. I mean, I really enjoyed this movie.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, the look on Trevor's face at the funeral when
Mm-hmm.
he sees all these folks walking up, and he's like, "Oh," and I think that leads to part of his realization that it really wasn't her doing all
Yeah.
that.
Well, because I mean, they put down
And
his bloody stump of a hook on her
hmm
grave too, and I was like, oh, so cool, man. We have like
and
3
then
different subplots going on in this movie.
and we don't even have to wait long for her to use it.
No, not at all.
Although I thought it would have been, well, I guess she'll get Stacy by killing Trevor because the
Right.
cops will think Stacy did
Well,
it.
because Stacy was holding a knife the whole time when she was making the salad, and I did notice that when she went to the bathroom, she still had the knife in her hand. So
Yeah.
I'm like,
Uh huh.
same thing going on here. Oh, the killings were really cool in this too. The Bernadette dying was very well done.
Yeah.
Again, out to make her like she was crazy. Helen was. I mean, he cut her neck, and then she has the knife because she's trying to fight this guy. Tells Burnett not to come in. She gets killed. She's got blood all over her, so obviously they're going to think it's her. It's just very, very well done how they did this.
And Bernadette hears her say, "Don't come in,"
Mm-hmm.
And she's,
Oh, I don't know what that
oh,
means.
I'll go in. It's opposite day.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, but I gave it 4 out of 5 as well. It's a favorite.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
Um,
This was actually surprisingly one of my favorite weeks. I know every year I have like a week or a certain movie that I love about the rest, but these two that we watched were far and above and between like the best I think we've had in
yeah,
a long time. I love them, the classics, if you will.
definitely. That brings us to The Fog. Speaking of classics,
Mm-hmm.
1980, John Carpenter.
What does he
Um,
have with what's her name? Uh,
Jamie Lee
Jamie Lee
Curtis.
Curtis. He really likes
They,
her.
yeah, I mean, this was just what 2 years or so after Halloween.
It is great.
So yeah, they. This is 90 minutes. So this
This
is
was
the
the
one
one I
you
was
were,
texting you about. Uh,
and a $1.1 million budget, 21.3 million at the box office,
Man, that John
and
Carpenter guy, he's got a good future ahead of him.
that's 1980 money.
Mm-hmm. That's good money.
Yeah. Um, we won't talk really about the remake from 2005.
Was it good?
Um, it was not as good as this, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It was not as good as this. Uh, it's worth watching. Just at some point, maybe we do some shows like
Oh,
that
like
where we
a
do,
the remakes.
yeah, do
Oh,
like the original and the remake and
yeah,
talk about,
that'd be
yeah.
cool. It's a good idea.
This also has Janet Leigh, which is Jamie Lee Curtis's mom, and
Oh,
also was in Psycho, with
oh,
Hitchcock.
I did not know
One,
that.
yeah, one of the scenes is filmed at the same little dockside restaurant that was in Hitchcock's The Birds,
Shut up.
and they reference it at one point in the movie. That one thing they did with this, before we get into the plot, that I've always liked about it, because you typically identify lighthouses with New England,
Mm.
and watching if you didn't pay attention and you're just watching the film, you would probably think this took place.
Yeah, like Maine,
Yeah,
somewhere around that area.
but she mentions Jamie Lee Curtis's character mentions that she's hitchhiked from Santa Barbara and she's on her way to Vancouver,
Mm.
which puts it on the West Coast. So, but they use all these different locations. The Blu-ray I've got has a little documentary where they visit the different locations,
Oh, that's cool.
and uh, and that's from about 10 years ago.
Yeah,
So,
that's pretty cool.
but yeah. All right, into the plot. On the eve of the centennial of the small coastal town Antonio Bay in Northern California, old Mr. Machin tells ghost stories to children by a campfire on the beach. One story is about a clipper ship that crashed against the rocks nearby, causing all of its crew to drown after mistaking a campfire for a lighthouse while sailing through an unearthly fog. Machin finishes the story as midnight strikes and paranormal activity begins occurring around the town. Town priest Father Malone, Hal Holbrook, discovers his grandfather's diary. The journal reveals a century earlier, in 1880, the 6 founders of Antonio Bay, including Malone's grandfather, deliberately wrecked a clipper ship named the Elizabeth Dane so that its wealthy, leprosy-afflicted owner Blake would not establish a leper colony nearby. The conspirators used the gold plundered from the ship to establish the town. Meanwhile, out at sea, a strange glowing fog envelops a fisherman's trawler. The fog brings with it the Elizabeth Dane, carrying the vengeful ghosts of Blake and his crew who killed the fisherman. The following morning, local radio DJ Stevie Wayne, which is Adrienne Barbeau, is given a piece of driftwood by her son Andy, who found it on the beach. It's inscribed with the word Dane. Stevie takes it with her to the lighthouse where she broadcasts her radio show. As she's listening to music on a cassette, the driftwood begins seeping water, As the water touches her cassette player, a man's voice is inexplicably heard on the tape, swearing revenge, and the words "Six must die" appear on the wood before it bursts into flames. Stevie extinguishes the fire and sees the wood once again reads Dane, and the tape is once again playing normally. It was a nice little scene.
So the only critique that I did not like about this film was the drive to the lighthouse, and then right before this, the only thing I did not like was that. I just felt like it took a little too long of like the radio playing in the background. I feel like we could have cut that down in a couple more minutes. But yes, very cool, and I would have noped the hell out of there. Like if I saw those words change, water just leaking mysteriously from a piece of wood, one, I'm chucking it straight out that lighthouse, and then I am gone. But that's just me.
Right. Yeah, that would definitely be creepy.
Yeah.
Right. Especially hearing a voice that you know's not on that tape.
Yep. Pass.
Town resident Nick, which is played by Tom Atkins, and by the way, the full character name is Nick Castle, which was, I guess, a homage or a pat on the back or whatever from John Carpenter to Nick Castle, who played Michael Myers in Halloween.
Oh, I never realized that.
So he named this character after
God,
that
I'm
actor.
telling you, like there's just secrets and secrets and layers upon layers of these movies.
Yeah, there's two or three other characters he named after other collaborators of his. Town resident Nick and his hitchhiker Elizabeth, which is Jamie Lee Curtis, find the lost fishing trawler adrift and the corpse of one of the fishermen. Later, while Elizabeth is in the autopsy room alone, the fisherman's corpse briefly comes to life and accosts her before collapsing. It's like he almost ran out of juice. He just falls over.
Very cool.
Nick and coroner Dr. Phibes, which is another homage by Carpenter to the Vincent Price character, see the now lifeless corpse has carved the number 3 on the floor with a scalpel. That evening, as the town begins its celebrations, local weatherman Dan is killed by the ghost at the weather station. The fog is returned and starts moving inland, disrupting the town's telephone and power lines. Using a backup generator, Stevie begs her listeners to go to her house and save her son. The ghosts kill her son's babysitter, but Nick and Elizabeth rescue Andy. It's never good to be the babysitter in these movies.
Got straight up destroyed. I mean, in this fog, I would have never opened the door anyways, especially if no one's going to answer me. Hey, who's there? But I mean, that fog was thick. It was glowing. It was a different color. I'm like, absolutely not. The phone lines aren't working. The power's gone out. No, I am not opening the door for you.
Yeah. In fact, I'm probably finding something to put against the door.
Right.
Stevie advises her listeners to head to the town's church, then finds herself trapped and under siege by the ghost when the fog envelops her lighthouse. Seeking refuge inside the church, a group of townsfolk find a large gold cross in the wall cavity, made from the rest of the stolen gold from the Elizabeth Dane. Just as the fog begins enveloping the church and the ghosts begin their attack, Malone, knowing that the ghosts have returned to take 6 lives instead of the 6 original conspirators, offers the gold and himself to spare the others. The ghost of Blake himself seizes the gold cross, and he and his crew disappear in a blinding flash of light as the fog miraculously vanishes. Stevie, now alone again at the lighthouse, warns her listeners the fog could come again, and instructs any ships that can hear her to keep an eye out for it. After everyone leaves the church, Malone remains inside and wonders why he was spared given there were only 5 deaths. The fog then reappears along with the ghosts, and Blake decapitates Malone, making it 6.
So, man, what a badass way to end this film.
Yeah.
Like, because he turns around, he's walking in his church, he goes, Blake, why only 5 and why not me? And you see the fog start creeping in, and unbeknownst to him, I was like, oh, this is awesome. And then he turns around, sees him, and off with his head, and credits roll. And I was like, God, this is awesome. What a good film.
No need to explain. There's no catch up with some of the
Right.
survivors afterward. It's just there it went.
This is what happened,
Uh,
and if I was Jamie Lee Curtis, I'm like, all right, heading to Vancouver. Escaped 2 different
uh,
serial killer deaths. I'm out.
yep. I gave it 4.5
That's
stars.
exactly where I had it at.
So I love this movie.
It's I
We've got
I was surprised how much I enjoyed this film. And again, going into a lot of these movies, know nothing about them besides their cult classics. And John Carpenter's name was like the first thing that popped up. I said, "Oh, I'm really gonna like this." And then Jamie Lee Curtis's name, I was like, "That's interesting and very cool." He gets when he picks up her hitchhiking, I said, "Mm-hmm." They about to get dirty. And then not even
yeah,
like a couple scenes later, there's laying in bed. I was like, "Oh, I was right." And then the
yeah,
jump scare on the boat did get me.
yeah.
Of the locker opening up, and then why they're below deck, just sitting there talking, and people are missing. I don't know. Sit above deck. You're waiting for the Coast Guard, anyways. And then the body just falls through. It's so cool. I was like, oh man, this is very well done.
No eyes on the body,
None. Just
just
like he'd
two
been drowned.
holes.
Like he was
Yeah,
been at the bottom of the ocean for like a month or something. They said, and I know him. I saw him 2 days ago.
yeah.
Oh, awesome! It was very, very well done. And it started off with a little campfire story, kind of giving you like a little bit of what you need to know, but not really everything you really need to know.
And you know
Very cool.
that wasn't planned.
Really?
The film came in short. It came in at like 80 minutes, so Carpenter had to add about 10 minutes of stuff. So he wrote that scene for the opening.
God, he's. I don't know if he knows what he's doing, but he's got a couple. He's got a good future ahead of him.
Yeah, I think he's gonna be good.
Yeah, I think he. I think he should keep doing what he's doing.
We've got another of his movies coming up too.
Which one? The
The
thing?
Thing.
Oh,
Yep.
that's a 2 weeks. I mean, I'm so
It's
excited about that.
one of his collaborations with Kurt Russell.
Ooh, I know that guy.
He's got a future too.
Yeah, I think he knows what he's doing as well.
Yeah, yeah,
He might, especially Christmas movies.
yeah.
Oh man, I loved it. I'm ready. I want more, and this is what I really like these horror films. Like it's not too scary to me, and they
Mhm.
tell a great story. Same thing with CM. It it told a story, fleshed it out, and proved this is why it's a horror film. It's just so good.
Well, and a lot of movies from back then did this. They told you the complete story in an
Hmm.
hour and a half, and you were done. And
Right.
if it was really wildly successful, maybe they would make a sequel. Today, they make a 2.5 hour movie that doesn't give you all the answers
Nope.
because they want to make another 2.5 hour movie.
Hmm.
And it's just, I think that's why movies from this era are so well liked because they're self contained in most cases. Even if a sequel did come, you still get a full story in the first one.
Right.
And they're like 80, 90 minutes.
Perfect time for a movie. I don't feel like I was sitting long. It told every. I don't feel like it was rushed either. Even to me, like the little bit of the lighthouse scene, I think that could have been skived off a little bit. But
Hmm.
overall, I mean, the movie, the runtime was great, and
Yeah.
I wish most movies were like this. We had a movie. Was it last year or 2 years ago we watched that was almost 3 hours long? I feel like, and it drug on. I forget which one it was. It was one I didn't rate very high because of that.
A lot of the Best Picture nominees the last year or two have been 2.5 hours or
Yes,
more.
and just and
It
not
might have
needing
been
to
one of
be.
those.
That's probably what it was because it just didn't need to be that long.
No.
But what
So
do I know about?
next week we have Terrifier, which Tyler and Jamie are really looking forward to,
I know I am.
and then we have 28 Days Later.
Which is this our first zombie movie this year? Which is
It
odd
might
because
be.
usually we have like a lot. I feel like because I bring a lot
It
of those
might
to the
be.
table.
Yeah.
So, all
Is
right.
it? I think it is.
Let me go through my handy dandy little notepad here of our list.
Um,
Unless you call Beetlejuice a zombie movie.
I mean technically. Uh,
Yep.
and then I think the next week we have Idle Hands and
The Thing.
The Thing. And then the week after that, it lightens up a little bit
Mm-hmm.
because we have Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein.
I'm excited
And
about that one.
what's the other one that week?
Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
This is the original or the remake?
I think the original. I forget who
From
brought that one to the table.
It had to be you or Jamie.
Yeah, let me see. Invasion. Oh, it'd be a Jamie question, and I imagine it's gonna be the remake.
Okay.
Because she's not a Body Snatchers. Well, the '78 film, I think, is what it is.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, Donald Sutherland. Yeah. So. Ooh. And then Jaws and Kraft after that.
And then, sort of a bonus weekend
Yes.
after that, where we plan to watch Pearl and Maxine.
I'm really excited about this. I keep forgetting that that's coming up. So, ooh, it's gonna be good. Oh, I love horror and Halloween time. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for watching and listening to this episode of the Nerdwide Podcast. We hope you enjoyed this as much as I did, or as much as we did as well. Don't forget you can share on all your favorite social media platforms. We are literally everywhere, and the more people we have eyes and ears listening and watching the show, the better product we get for you guys. You can follow the Nerdwide account anywhere and everywhere you get your podcast or your social media. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we do a little bit other things. We have trailer reactions there. We do book reviews, all sorts of different things. It is exclusively on our YouTube. Just search up Nerdwide Podcast, and there we are. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much this week. Hey, just a friendly advice. Go in front of a mirror and say Candyman 5 times, because that was my 3rd and Chris's 24th. But until next time, thank you so much for watching and listening, and we will see you for our next Horror Halloween 2024.
Later, guys.